Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Today, let me show you how to use Mission Control on your Mac. MACMOST is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 900 supporters. Go to MACMOST.com/Patreon. There you can read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. Now when using your Mac, you may have your screen crowded with lots of different apps and lots of different windows. This is especially problematic if you're on a MacBook where the screens are smaller than if you're using an iMac. So for instance, your screen may look like this. Here I've got Calculator, Calendar, Mail, Pages, and Safari, and I'm trying to use them all at once. I have to constantly move windows in front of or behind other windows, shrink and enlarge windows to get my work done. But you can use Mission Control to make things better. What Mission Control does is it gives you multiple desktops. So what we see here is one desktop with all of these different windows on it. But we can use another desktop and put some of these windows there. It's kind of like having multiple screens on your Mac, but instead of having multiple physical displays, you've got multiple screens that you can switch to on your one display. So to activate Mission Control, you can use Control and up arrow, or on many Macs you've got a Mission Control shortcut as the F3 key. So either press F3 or hold the FN key down and press F3. This brings up Mission Control, and you can see the first thing it does is it takes all the windows and moves them apart so you can see exactly what you've got. Then at the top it shows you have one desktop. If you move your cursor there, it will expand and show you exactly what that desktop looks like. Now we could add a second desktop using the plus button here on the right. If I click that, now I have Desktop 1 and Desktop 2. And Desktop 2 you can see is empty. So let's move some of these windows there. For instance, let's move Calendar there and maybe also Mail, leaving Pages, Safari, and Calculator all on Desktop 1. Now let's go to one of these desktops. You can do that by simply clicking on that desktop. Now you can see I just have those three apps there. Things are a little less cluttered. I can go back to Mission Control the same way and click on the second desktop to go to it. I could also use keyboard shortcuts to quickly switch between desktops. So Control and left and right arrows go between the two desktops. So Control left arrow takes me to the first one. Control right arrow takes me back to the second. If you have a MacBook or an Apple trackpad, you can also use a gesture to do this. Use 4 fingers on the trackpad and swipe left or right to quickly move between desktops. There's a setting for this in System Preferences, Trackpad under More Gestures. So you can see it here and you can customize it. Now you can continue to add more desktops. So you can go back into Mission Control and add a third desktop. So now that's empty, but I can move something to it like I did before. Or I could simply drag something to it. So let's move this Pages window to that third desktop. While I'm dragging it, I've got the mouse or trackpad clicked and held down. I can use Control and right arrow to switch to the third desktop and drop the window there. So now I've got 3 desktops and I can move the windows around on each one of those. In Mission Control I can move the desktops around, so rearrange them into any order I want. I could add new ones, and notice that I have this little X button when I move over one of the desktops. If I close a desktop, it will close and that window will return to the desktop it was previously. So you can really think of this like you've got 2 different screens on your Mac and you can just switch between them very easily. Now people use this in different ways. Sometimes they'll just use a second desktop to get some windows out of the way and concentrate on something on the other desktop. Other times they'll make each desktop specific to a task they're doing. So for instance you may have Pages, Notes, and a Safari window all on one desktop because you're writing a paper and doing research at the same time. And then another window may have Reminders, Mail, and Calendar because that's the desktop you go to check your email, schedule events, see what's going on. Now in addition to having desktops like this that have windows on them, there are 2 other types of desktops. One is for a full screen app. So for instance with Safari here, if I want to take Safari full screen, I can do that by clicking the green button or hovering over the green button and clicking Enter Full Screen. And this takes Safari full screen. The menu bar is gone, but I could get it back by moving my cursor up there. The dock is gone, but I could move my cursor down there to see that as well. If I look now in Mission Control, I could see I've got Desktop 1 and Desktop 2, but I have a desktop that's just called Safari. And it's showing Safari full screen. And I can range this desktop just like the others. So full screen apps take up an entire desktop of their own. The third type of desktop you can have is a split view desktop. It's the same thing as full screen except 2 apps instead of 1. So I can move my cursor over the green button here, say tile the window to the left, then select another window to be the right, and now you can see how this is split view. It's like full screen but an app on the left and an app on the right. And if I look in Mission Control you can see that's represented as another desktop and it's called Mail and Calendar. So with 4 desktops I can still use Control and left and right arrows to move between all of them, or the 4 fingers on the trackpad gesture. There are some settings for Mission Control in System Preferences under Mission Control. So for instance you can have the desktops, also called spaces, automatically rearrange themselves according to the most recent use. You have some other options here as well, and you have control over the keyboard shortcuts. So while I was using Control and up arrow you can actually set it to a variety of different things here, including even using some of the modifier keys you may not normally use like right shift or right command to trigger Mission Control. Also a lot of people like to use hot corners to trigger Mission Control. So you can go and set the lower left hand corner for instance to trigger Mission Control. So when I move my cursor down to the bottom left hand corner of the screen, Mission Control appears. So if you haven't been using Mission Control, give it a try, especially if you're using a MacBook. It really opens up a whole new world of being able to arrange your applications like you want and be more productive. And it's perfectly normal to sometimes use Mission Control and other times not. For instance, you may decide to create a second desktop or space when you want to work on something and just concentrate on 1, 2, or 3 apps and have all of the rest of your apps on the other desktop. But when you're not trying to concentrate on something, have everything just on one desktop and not be using Mission Control. It's up to you how you want to use it. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.